Hi everybody, I'm Diana Lemieux. I'm the person behind Matilda Pink. I have an Etsy shop, matildapink.etsy.com, and I make doll clothing and doll patterns, especially new patterns that will fit Ella Wild. Today, we are going to make a Parsons chair for Tonnerfest. This chair will fit Elwyn and Elwyn's friends, and it doesn't take any sewing at all. So, let's get started. To begin this project, you're going to need some tools. I'd get a nice ruler. I would get a metal or a metal straight edge that you'd be able to cut against with an X-Acto knife, because you'll need an X-Acto knife, a pencil for marking, scissors. You'll need some pins, some clips like this are really handy, or even clothespins, a hot glue gun, and glue sticks. For materials, you'll need some lightweight fabric. This is about a half yard of quilting cotton, or this is actually fabric that's used to make curtains. You just want something that's lightweight and not too bulky. You'll need about a half a yard of that, and then about a quarter of a yard of 1/2 inch thick batting, or you can just use some scraps if you're able to do that. That would be fine. You'll also need foam core board, and this is already cut. I used 3/16 inch thick foam core board, so it's just underneath a 1/4 of an inch. That's pretty standard. You can get that anywhere at Target, at craft stores like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. So let's cut out the foam core board. We're going to need 2 pieces that are 4.5 inches by 10 inches. Then we're going to cut a front and a back piece for the bases, and those are going to be 4.5 inches by 4 3/8 inches. Then we're going to cut the sides, which are 4 1/8 by 4 3/8, and then we're going to cut 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 4.5 inches. Then we're going to cut out our fabric. So we're going to cut a piece of fabric that is 8 inches by 8 inches. Then we're going to cut another piece that is about 8 inches by 14 inches. Then we're going to cut a long, skinny piece that is 8 inches by 36 inches. And then we're going to cut another piece that is 2.5 inches by 21 inches. And before we even get started making the chair, after you cut these pieces, like this one piece that's 8 inches by 36 inches, you're going to want to fold it in half the long ways and press it in half. You're going to want to just give it a nice smooth press. And then this long piece that's 2.5 inches by 21 inches, you're going to want to press this so that you have about 5/8 of an inch and 5/8 of an inch. It will meet in the middle so that your piece looks like that. So you won't have any raw edges on the outside. It'll make sense in a bit. First, we're going to take our 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 10 inches, and we're going to glue them together to make one thick piece. If you happen to have a scrap of 1/2 inch thick foam core board, more power to you. Just cut one piece that's 4.5 by 10 inches thick. That's what I would do. But right now, we're just going to run with what we've got here. That'll get it done. And we're going to push those things, and we're going to make sure that the edges are pretty much, yep. There we go. So now we have one piece that's 4.5 by 10 inches. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this piece of batting that we cut, that's 4.5 inches by about 12 inches. And what we're gonna do is we're going to glue this to the top. But what I want to show you is we want to have the top of the chair just a little bit softer. So what we're going to do is we're going to just glue it so that a little bit of it goes along this top. So let me just do this here. Then we'll put a little glue on this right along the top and hold that so that it attaches. And then we're gonna put a few pieces of stripes of glue there and do that. So you can see we have a little bit of an edge that goes that way, right at the top. Now it's a little staggered down here. That's fine. That's not going to be a problem at all. But you just want to have a little bit of padding right at the top. Now we're going to take a 4.5 by 4.5 inch square. It's actually a little bit bigger than that. And we're going to take one of these 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares, and we're just going to attach that to the top. There we go. You can see that there's a little bit of a lip around. That's okay. We want it to be that way. It's not rocket science. If it's exactly 4.5 by 4.5 and it fits exactly, because that's what you can do, that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna let these sit over here, and then we're gonna move on with the next step. Now we're going to take this 8 by 14 inch piece that we have, and we're going to cover the back of the chair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little bit of glue here, and I'm going to take this and attach that. It's going to just glue down about an inch below where the batting was. And you want to have a little bit, you want this centered. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of push this down, and we're going to glue one side. Down. And then we're going to pull the fabric a little bit taut over to the other side, and we're going to glue this side. There we go. Now, before you glue the next step, just try doing a dry run, because it's a little tricky to get this exactly the way you're going to want to have it folded. We're going to tuck this in and pull it towards the back. So we want to make sure that this corner is going to be nice and tight. Let me try doing that again so you can see. I'm just going to follow this line and kind of pull it back here, over that way. Yeah, so that it'll look like this. I'm going to clip it on one side so that I can get the other side even before I get gluing, and make sure that I like it, because this side is a little less simple to do, because you're going to have to finagle that and just roll it towards the back like that. And smooth it down. Make sure everything is kind of the way you want it to be before you go in and glue that. So that, I think, is pretty good. I'm going to clip that down, and then I'm going to move back to this first side. Take my clips off. You can use clothespins, or you could even put a couple of just regular pins into the board, and that would do a good enough job of holding it in place. And just slide that back over. And I'm just going to pin that down here while that kind of dries, and then I'm going to do the other side. Just kind of smooth that through. Make sure that it's all good and it adhered properly. And there we go. So that's going to be our chair back. And that came out pretty good. I'm just going to put a little bit more glue here to hold this like little bit in place. There we go. All right, so we'll let that sit and cool. Now we're going to make the chair base, and I highly recommend that you label all of the parts. We have one of the bases, we have a front, a back, and two sides. And I would recommend that you write top and bottom on the side pieces as well, because they are narrower than they are long, and you're going to want to keep that straight. So for starters, we're going to take one of this 4.5 by 4.5 inch square, and we're going to just put a long bead of hot glue along there, and we're going to carefully place this right along the edge and make sure that it's flush like that. And it seems like it's going to go good. And then we're going to put another bead of glue right along here, this next edge, and right here, ooh, all the way. There we go. We're going to set this just like that and hold that until it sticks, which it did. These glue guns are great. And then I'm going to do my other side just the way I did. This actually gets a little easier. And slide that. Get that to stay put. And then we have the last piece. And this one, I'm going to put glue right along this edge. And this edge. and along this inside line right here. If you're a little sloppy, don't worry about it. It's all going to be covered. So I'll drop that in and hold it for a second as that attaches, and these glue guns are so great because it really does grab pretty quickly. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put glue all along this top edge. And I'm just going to fit that right there. Make sure, there we go. Hold that for a second. Check and make sure. Yeah. There we go. So now we're going to take the 8 by 8 inch square and we're going to cover the seat base of the chair. And so what I'm going to do is just make sure that it's going to be sort of centered. I can even lay that down and make sure that that's going to be centered here. And just flip this up. And I'm going to start by putting a little bit of glue here. And hold that down. Let that, make sure that that has a good hold for a second there. So you can kind of pull it taut over towards the front. You don't want any wrinkles. So I'm going to smooth that, kind of push it down, flip that up, and repeat the process. Put some glue here. Pull that down. Hold that for a moment so that it has a nice grip. And now for the sides, I'm going to go in. It's kind of like wrapping a present a little bit. So I'm going to go in and then I'm going to pull it down. But I'm going to secure the sides here. Oh, ran out of glue stick. That's one thing, you do go through a bit of glue on this. I'm going to just slide that in and hold that. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same. I'm sure that there are other people who do a much better job at this than I do. But hopefully it doesn't matter too much what my gluing job looks like at this point. And then I'm going to pull this down and glue this here. So you can see it's sort of like a present, but with hot glue instead of tape. And then I'm going to repeat the process for this other side. A little hot glue here. Hold it down. Add a little bit more there. Let this pretty secure, and then this other side as well. sure that this flap gets glued down nice and secure. I made a little bit of a mess there, but it's going to be okay. That'll be hidden. Oops. All right. Just check and make sure everything is secure. Oh, you see you don't want anything too loose. So just make sure if you go back and just check and make sure that your edges are pretty secure. Let's see. There we go. Sometimes if you have a little extra, you can just tear it off when it's dry, so don't fret too much about that. Okay, so that's what our chair base should look like now. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our back that we already worked on. And this is why it's really important that you made note of where your sides are, where your front and your back are. I like knowing, and it's going to fit just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put more glue on this. Hopefully I can get this before it starts cooling off too much. And I'm going to glue that on top. And just make sure that your bottom is nice and flush. The back side is flush with the base of the chair box that you just made. Kind of hold that together, and you're going to want to let that cool a minute. And then we'll make the skirt next. Now we're going to make the skirt. We already took this long, narrow piece and we folded it and pressed it in half, the long ways. So now we're going to attach it to the base of the chair. And we're going to start off by taking one edge and we're going to glue it with the open side at the top about an inch from the edge. Everything is about an inch. I think that's a measurement that most people can eyeball. I don't want to get too caught up in making sure your measurement on this one is precise, because I think that kind of kills the joy. If you have to be so exact, we don't need to be so exact. You can get something pretty cool without too much precision here. The only thing I really stress is that you make sure that your skirt covers the bottom edge here. You want to make sure that you don't have any of this cardboard, foam core board peeping through. So we glued that, peel away, and we're going to glue the inside edge. Put that back here. Okay. So that's nice and anchored. Now we're going to roll over and we are going to glue about an inch over. And you will have to do a little bit. Sometimes if you're working with thin fabric, the glue will sort of ooze through to the other side. This is a tiny bit thicker, so the glue doesn't really ooze through, so I have to go back and open it up and get a little bit of glue on the inside, but you might not have to do that because it might just kind of stick itself. Oof. And sometimes you get strings of glue. Let's see if we can make that stop. Okay, so I glued an inch forward, and now I'm gonna create my first pleat. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue here, about an inch. And now I'm going to fold it onto that and pinch it. And of course it didn't go through, so I'm going to have to tack it here, that top layer. And one more on top of that fold. And I'm going to place that just like that. Hope you can see that. And again, I'm going to need to tack that little bit there. So that's my first, that's your first pleat. Now I'm going to put more glue up until about an inch from this side. Making sure that the bottom is covered. And of course I have to make sure I tack this top part too. We're doing that. Now, this is where pins get handy. This isn't glued down yet, so I'm gonna kind of figure out, this is where my corner is gonna be. I'm just gonna mark that with a pin, and I can even do this. With this pin, it's about an inch forward. I'm gonna pull it. So now I know this is gonna be the fold. I know where this is all gonna go. So I'm gonna glue this. Top of itself like that. I can take my pins out at this point. This top edge. And now, right here at that inch mark, I'm going to fold it and burn myself. So there we go. Now I have this other pleat. You can see it better on the bottom. So that's like that. Now we get to do the front. And you'll start feeling a pattern going on here. Fold down an inch. If you are so inclined and you enjoy sewing, what is really easy to do is if you gathered this fabric and then you could just glue it as a gathered skirt if you wanted to. But just a suggestion, if you are already a sewer, maybe that's something that you would like to do. Okay, pull that forward. Make sure that kind of pinches up. And there we go, through all of those layers. And that's our second corner, right there. And we just go through it again. So I'll move forward about an inch here. It's more than an inch. I'm going to figure out where the coming up corner is. That's about here. I'm going to mark it with a pin. And about this far, I'm going to mark with a pin for myself. That's about an inch from the edge. And I'm going to fold on this. So I have this. And then I'm going to draw it back on itself. Open this up and put more glue. And this top layer, I'm going to put a little glue just to tack it. The glue guns that have a really fine tip like this one are really handy in a project like this because you can really control how much glue you're putting down and then pull that fold over to the corner. Take out my pins. And then I'm going to just tack along here, there. So you can see what we've got going on now. And now this next corner, like before, moving in an inch. Pull it down. Kind of tack it on the underside. A little bit of glue for an inch on top. Lay it on itself. Tack this a little. And drape it back over itself so we create the next corner. And there we go. Just when you think this is just going on forever, we're almost done. We really are. Do that. We're starting this, and we figured out, okay, this is where the corner is. I'm going to mark it with a pin. Oops. Could have marked that a little better. Okay. I forgot to put that in between the layers. I think you know what I'm doing though. I hope you do. Lay that. Tack this underside. Oof. Take a moment to pause. Okay, y'all, I didn't do the best corner on this one. did not. I wonder if I can make that a little better. No, we're just gonna run with it. Okay, so now we're at this last point. Oops, that didn't hold. A little more glue there on my imperfect corner. Sorry, it makes you feel better about yourself. Okay, so you see what we're gonna do. We're gonna make this last pleat here. You see how we have extra. That's by design because I don't like measuring out perfectly because sometimes you end up short and that's very stressful. We want a project that isn't stressful. Okay, so I pull this back. Tack it. So we go back about an inch and then we fold it like this. So we glue on top about an inch and fold it on itself. And then draw it back. Okay. And then a little glue there to hold it in place. All right, now we're at our last pleat. So all I'm gonna have to do is fold it, find out where this corner is gonna be to meet up. And I hope you can see it right here. This is where the corner is going to be. This is where I'm going to have my final fold. Oops. That's going to just be like, oops, like this. You can see how that's going to be. Now I could cut that short so that it'll be exactly an inch and all that. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Okay, so put my glue down here. Okay. And this top edge. And any other layers that are in between that need a little glue. Kind of push that down. And here at the corner, I'm just gonna put a little more glue there. And in between the layers like that. There we go. Now it's kind of messy, don't worry about that, but this is basically what it should look like. We have a few, this is a good moment to take your scissors and trim up things like this that are all crazy. So I will go around all of this and kind of tidy it up so that I can attach the band that'll cover everything up next. So now we're going to take this last remaining piece, that long skinny piece that we hot dog folded. We just folded an edge in so that they meet in the middle. And we're going to take this, and this is going to make your chair look really nice and tidy. And it's also going to kind of reinforce holding the seat back to the seat box. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide all of my horrible mistakes and sloppy craftsmanship by putting some glue here and my glue gun. Is a little tired there. Okay. So we're just gonna glue this right on the edge of the back. And you can see how that's gonna cover this. Okay, so this is what we have here. Make sure that's nice and firm. And then we're gonna put it on its side. Okay. Now I'm going to put some glue here. And lay that over. And make sure that that grabs it. Okay, now flip it on its back, and I'm going to do the next side. And just pull that over. Hopefully you have fabric that doesn't ravel quite as much as mine does. And there we go. And there we go. And now we'll do this next side, and I'm kind of holding it on the underside so that it doesn't slide. And pull that back and just sort of tap it in place. And then we have our last corner. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, now this I don't want too much. I'm going to see how far over it's going to be. I'm going to mark where this corner is. And I'm going to give myself like 3/4 of an inch over. And I'm going to fold it so that it'll be like this, so that I won't see any raw edge. You can see what that's going to look like. So I marked the corner with a pin, then I cut 3/4 of an inch beyond it. And I'm just going to fold that. And I can even mark that with a pin if that's easier for you to do too. And now I'm going to put my final bit of glue and another glue stick. Let's see. And draw that all over. Cover it up with the band. And now I might need a little extra glue here. And I'll just go around and tuck in the bottom. I didn't put a lot of glue at the bottom. You can go back at the end and kind of tuck in wherever you want a little extra grip. And I use a pin to just kind of control that extra bit of glue. I'm sacrificing a pin, that's okay. Better than my fingers. And just let that grip and dry. And there you have it. You can kind of look around and see there's a little bit here that I want to make it better. And I can certainly go back and touch it up with a little bit of glue. Oops. There we go. But you can see now that we have our chair. Kind of smooth things out. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching while we made these Parsons chairs. I hope that you enjoy making one of your own. You can use them in maybe a little diorama. We made this little table with a candlestick that we're going to glue this round wooden disc on top and then maybe give it a nice paint job so it'll look really cohesive and everything. Anyway, it's just an idea. I hope you have fun with it. We would love to see what you make yourself, and you could post pictures in the Tanner Fest group. Thanks so much for watching. Have fun. Bye-bye.